stuff is on there?
Always gotta make sure the doors are locked in Toronto. We have notes for today's episode. Lots of notes. Because there's lots to go through. When we asked people what they wanted to hear about now that we're living in Toronto, it was like, what is city life like? What's living in a van life? How's the parking situation? It's going to touch on a lot of that. I think the title is going to be, is living in a van worth it?
In a city.
In a city. Not for the, I'm going to quit my job and work remotely and travel, and that lifestyle to me is easy van living.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's easy living, it's just in terms of van living, that's easy van living. Having a regular life and living in a city, not just any city, but we're also living in the biggest city in Canada. Oh, one other disclaimer sort of thing I want to say. This is not a Hamilton versus Toronto thing, although it may seem that way because we're comparing city living in Hamilton to city living in Toronto.
But the situations are...
They're just different.
They're very different.
Yeah. When we're evaluating worth it, we're not just talking about finances. We're also talking about convenience and lifestyle.
Yep.
Because one of the main things we said about what we love about this lifestyle is the freedom that it gives us. So we're going to be looking at the changes kind of before and after and seeing what the impact has been, how we need to adapt to make it work for our new situation, and whether that's worth it. So we're going to go through all of those things in this episode. Parking. I think we've mentioned it before. It is brutal. In Hamilton, there was lots of free parking. If you have a veteran's plate, which we do because James is a veteran, you get free parking in all the municipal lots all the time, 24/7. So we never, ever had to pay or worry about parking.
Also, like, there's places where you can just go to park.
Yeah. And
like,
just...
there's open areas to park in Hamilton.
Lots. In Toronto, every single sign area, you have to read the rules to, what time of day, this and that. It's so expensive. It's extortion.
But if I decided to do street parking, it's also around $30-ish.
A day. Like, I'm sure $30 a day for parking, people are kind of like, yeah, whatever. That's no big deal. They just kind of deal with it. You know, and we're like, we're living in a van. I'm not paying $30 for parking. Like, there's no monthly parking within this area. Like, we've checked so many places, and all of the monthly parking is far, and then you have to take public transit to come in. So if we want to park far out the city, we can find a spot for $50 a month, but then on top of that, we each have to pay $150 for transit. On top of that is a commute time. So if I have a bad commute on my way home, it can take me an hour to get home. I could live in Hamilton and commute for an hour, or I can travel within the city here and commute for an hour. The other thing is, Toronto's noisy. Like, I mean, really noisy. Like, even quiet spots are noisy. We go to park somewhere like, okay, we're ready to relax. No, 4 a.m, there are people hanging out. They love hanging out in parking lots and talking about how cool they are and how they banged this chick or they fought this guy.
Everybody's obviously tough in Toronto.
We gotta listen to it all.
Yeah.
What's the next thing we should talk about? Spanky, actually. James was retired. I had a house husband, and Spanky had a permanent playmate. The reason we moved to Toronto is because James got an awesome opportunity we didn't want to pass up, but I hate him for it, and so does Spanky, because now he's working full-time. Thankfully, yes, Spanky does get to come with you, which she loves, and his workmates love it. But at the same time, there's quite a bit of inconvenience to you. You do have to manage her.
There's days where I have to be in places where that are like clean rooms.
She
can't have her at work.
Right. The other thing in Hamilton is we had friends and family there to look after her. We don't have that here. Though, I would have to say that Toronto is way more dog friendly. Like, people love their dogs here. People love dogs. It's very dog friendly. So we started looking at 2 doggy daycares. That can range from $200 a month up to $600 a month, and then some. So basically like a child. The next thing is the gym. We originally got our gym membership at
a major Canadian chain.
Yet to be named until they give us sponsorship. Well, we got it because there were so many locations.
We were traveling around.
Yeah, we were traveling. It was awesome. So the one that we found that we liked is pretty far away. So there's all this complication of like, if we're going to do that early in the morning, where do we park? And if we park there, then we can't do this one. And then I was like, oh, let's just do it during the day. Because I have one of them is close to my work. But then James has Spanky, so we can't work out together. It's impeding some of our gym goals, which has been a bit frustrating because we can't really find that routine that's really working for our van life right now.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. Oh, storage. When we went into this full time, we recognized that it might not be full time forever, and there's stuff that we want to still keep. So we do have a storage facility. If we wanted to have the equivalent storage facility in Toronto, it would be at least double the cost. And that would be $300 here.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is come up with solutions. What are solutions to these things? Because while the ultimate van goal is really about freedom, we definitely don't want our van life to impede on some of our other life goals. We're flexible. Let's just look at this. What would it cost and to get an apartment, and would it solve the issues that we need? When we started looking around, any of the areas that we thought would be convenient and help solve these problems, we estimated that a good apartment would cost about $1,500 a month. And that would include things like utilities and the extras and stuff like that. Just slightly more than we were paying in Hamilton.
That's $1,500 for a bachelor compared to $1,300 for a 2-bedroom.
With a huge balcony.
With a balcony overlooking the water. And Hamilton.
That space is not something I'm concerned about. It's more...
No, it's not the space of it.
So for $1,500 a month, that means we wouldn't need $600 for doggy daycare because we have a place for Spanky. We wouldn't need the $300 for storage because we have a place to put all our stuff. We wouldn't need $150 a month for the parking because we'd get street parking or resident parking pass now that we have an actual resident address. And we would be one less pass for transit because we live in one of our neighborhoods, so one of us wouldn't need to take transit. So that'd be another $150. But just that stuff alone is $1,200 in van life expenses.
And multiple things that we're tied down to. The other bonuses, if we actually got an apartment, is we'd have an actual address. In case our van breaks down or we need to get work done on it, like we did the other time and we had to hang out in the Canadian Tire literally all day. In Hamilton, we had friends and family that we could stay at their place. Not a problem. And winter is coming. If it really turns out to be a terrible, terrible winter and we can't stand living in the van, there's one major problem in this whole getting apartment thing. No, we don't want to get an apartment?
We don't want to get an apartment. I don't want an apartment. I don't want to be tied to a landlord. I don't want to sign a lease. I don't want to think about hydro and bills. Blah.
Yeah.
And I like living in the van. I want to stay living in the van. But it just seems silly to have to worry about all these things.
It's almost worth just paying for an apartment.
Like as a storage unit.
So we don't have to worry about all the other things.
I know.
And then keep traveling in the van.
I know. I think that's everything on my list. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on what the dealio is.
Yep. Or if we find a better solution to what we've been talking about.
Hey, if you have a solution.
If you have any alternatives.
You live in Toronto or you know of some secret things that we don't know about, comment. Please share them with us.
Time for pints?
We just had pints.
Let's have more pints. Because we're in Toronto.
If you like this video, please subscribe. Hit the like button. Obviously, comment below.
Hi, puppy. She got a car.
Can't believe you need doggy daycare. I bet you'd love it, though.
She got a car.